Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley and I am back and we're redoing some Warhammer 2 multiplayer battles. It's been a little while. I haven't covered anything for Mortal Empires as of yet. I was doing some work on the latest documentary which has been released. It's on the Spartans. So there has been some people asking follow-up questions on that, and we will be hosting a live stream Q&A session with the historian to answer follow-up questions and critiques and whatnot. So yeah, that will be kind of on the history front. As for the battle itself, we're on Krakato. You know, that's how you natively pronounce it. Krakato Pools. It's a free-for-all map, one of the new ones, and it's really cool. Before the battle gets underway, let's take a look at this. Each player spawns in a corner, and I really like this free-for-all map. The biggest complaint I had with the previous free-for-all maps was that you spawned so close that the engagements were just forced, whereas this one you have a lot of time to plod. And the way it's spaced out is there's kind of this central area here with the land bridge, two swamps with kind of marshy crossings. What it tends to do is promote two 1v1s, kind of fighting it out, and then after that the winner will kind of cross the bridge in the center and fight the other one. So this is really cool, the fact that it kind of separates it out so there's lots of room to do different things, and yeah, how it kind of breaks it up into not as much backstabbing as other battles where you can kind of square off with your flanks in safety. That's what I appreciate about this one. In any case, let's go over the armies. I have the Lizardmen. My guy on my side is going to be Chaos, obviously, so it's great to see all these factions back to back, one next to another. So Chaos is going to be pushing forward, and this is also on Ultra Funds, I believe. So yeah, we're able to field some pretty big tanky armies. Then there is going to be a big ass army of vampire counts pushing forward, and then finally an army of the dwarves. No one really wants to fight the army of the dwarves. They have a bunch of these guns and cannon crews. I'm going to put this on slow motion so we can get back into the fight and go over what's going on here. So essentially what I've decided to do with my Lizardmen army, I wanted a little bit of sustain and I wanted to pluck away at big enemy forces. So I have a Bastillodon Solar Engine to fire away at big creatures. I also have an Ancient Stegodon, one of the biggest, tankiest things in Lizardmen arsenal. And then I have a Bastillodon with the Revivification Crystal that I can continuously pop on various units, probably going to be on some of my Temple Guard in the rear. And then the main line is Saurus Warriors, and then also some Kroxigors to hit any soft squishy units. Chaos Warriors aren't going to be soft or squishy, but they'll be okay to sustain the front. And then I have Krokgar, of course, up through the front on Grimlock. On the flank, I have another Scar Veteran, a Skink Cohort, and a Chameleon Skink Cohort. And then up through the front, I also have two of these Pterodon Riders. These are great in free-for-all because they are so versatile, especially if you expect the enemy to bring some sort of artillery and not really have much to contest the skies. They're a great pick because they can do just this. So I noticed that, hey, there is going to be a couple of exposed hell cannons on this position that could do a lot of damage to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull right out of range from it and then throw some of these exploding little fire leeches onto this cannon. And it will take quite some time to take them down. Two guys firing into it, almost doing no damage here, but it's plucking away at it. And over time, I really need to take this thing offline because, yeah, even if I waste, you know, a quarter of the ammo on both units, that's averting a ton of damage. And it's also forcing the Chaos player to come to me. He would have dictated the pace of the fight with this Hell Cannon, but because I have my Fire Leech Billows, I'm able to turn that about. And he has nothing to counter me. And see all these warriors below just charging ahead. I can go ahead and drop some bombs. I can also get some more shots off on the second guy. That one seems to be doing a fair amount of damage, so pretty happy about this. Meanwhile, Skinks are also going to come around the side. These guys can poison the enemy, and I believe that should slow them. So as Chaos is trying to push forward, I can kind of control its pace with these early advanced units. But my Skinks are a little bit scared to go against some of these Dragon Ogres because those guys are pretty quick. So I got to be careful. Meanwhile, my force is, I could advance, but hey, I am getting damage all the while, so, you know, I might as well not engage and just wait it out. He is going to fire against me, and that's why I'm going to charge into silence his Hell Cannon. So I'm just trying to trade as cost effectively as possible, and what I'd love to do is draw Chaos into a little crescent formation. So I have my big monsters I'm going to park up on this flank here to overlook the battlefield and shoot at the enemy, engage in the center with Saurus Warriors, and then have some units to come in on the flank and help turn the tides there. But this is going to be a big punch. Of anyone who's going to come in and hit you, Chaos is going to deal the biggest of blows, so I have to be a little careful. Luckily, what's going on here is this Hell Cannon has been silenced, so Arthuriel here is going to be trying to take out my guys. He does kill one skink, but unfortunately with those big wings, he can't fly. So yeah, but one of the nice things kind of strategically going on in the battle is the vampire counts have smelled blood in the water. So they're going to be crossing over here with a ton of their guys, lots of grave guard, skeleton warriors, a white, and then also he has 3 of these Vargulfs, which can be a really big, doom ball that can come at you. And he also has Vlad von Karasine, Wind of Death, that you'll be seeing popped here. So anyways, like I said, he smells blood in the water, which is going to force Chaos to start to charge forward. My Bastiladon is going to start to unleash. First shot was into the Chaos Warriors, probably not the best, but they're the first thing that came in range. I would ideally like to shoot at our Sartorial, and as Chaos is slowly coming forward, I'm going to push up here with my guys and sound the retreat. I want to try and save my ammo as well, because I know that the dwarves are going to be a late game fight for me, and I'm going to want to fire into them with these guys here. Meanwhile, Hell Cannon is continuing to fire into my guys, destroying my ranks, and now I'm going to button up the defenses. On this side, I'm going to have 3 of my giant Stegodons and Bastiladons all holding the center. I'm going to force Sartorial back with a feint with Krokgar, and then continue to pull out. These skinks are forcing the enemy into the center, and take a look at this. I'm going to do a flight overhead and just opening salvos of bombs to start to weaken and soften up these Chaos Warriors before the assault gets incoming. I also have these Kroxigars up through the front. I'm going to pop a Revivification Crystal on them just to get them back up to strength, and then take a look at this. Chaos Warriors, no halberds in sight, so that's going to be the key for me to charge in. I don't really have great luck with the Kroxigars, but you know, they're going to be able to at least get some punishing damage on the charge. And then I also have the Ancient Stegodon here with its little skink machine guns firing in close support. The Solar Engine also going to be trying to fire at some of these Dragon Ogres and whatnot. Meanwhile, in the back, looks like the Hell Cannons have been silenced by Vampire Count, so that is great. He is getting a couple points from doing so. But yeah, this is definitely going to shut that down, whereas I might have been a little bit scared of that. I mean, anyways, the dwarves are going to be pushing up, but what the Vampire Counts have done very, very smartly is they've kept 2 Blood Knights in the back. These are going to be excellent for trying to take out some of the ranged dwarven units if they think everything is positioned over here. Let's get back on the fight and watch this from the perspective of our general's booth here with Krokgar and the other dinos. There you go, Krokgar going to charge in, help to shore this up, and he towers over these Shaggoths. Boom, and then I get some supporting fire from the top of the hill, so that was a really excellent position. So with Krokgar in the mix and some of these other units, I should be pretty good to go. However, these guys are rampaging down to half strength, so Sartorial here having lots of abilities popped. Going to be taking a toll on my guys. That's why I'm going to have to come in and plug with the Saurus Warriors. I didn't want them there in the initial fight because the Kroxigors were here to knock the enemy about, absorb the charge, and flatten the enemy. And then the Saurus Warriors can come and reinforce once things have settled down a little bit. Same thing with this Ancient Stegodon. It's coming in and just firing straight into these guys. I also have Krokgar. Transmutation of Lead was popped on him, but I'm just going to pull him out of that engagement. And actually, this whole area has Transmutation of Lead, so that is pretty deadly. Meanwhile, the Chaos Storm is upon me. They've charged into this flank with Sartorial, the Everchosen, or the Everwatcher, I should say. Into my flank, Scar Veteran is going to be shoring up my ranks, Crossgore plus Temple Guard. We should be able to hold this pretty handily, and then the Skinks are going to be over here, firing up and into the guys, trying to spread around this poison shots. Oops. To press T. But anyways, yeah, they're going to be doing some supporting shots and shooting at the Sartorial. And yeah, when he glides through the force, it's really scary. Ooh, although that Solar Engine was able to clip him. Krokgar there doing Swiftnits of Itzel, sorry, to get out of that fight. Ooh, and also a dirty, dirty Hand of the Gods against Sartorial. And then he's going to charge in. So this guy has a lot of health. Trying to take him out, but we'll see how that goes. Ooh, and the Solar Engine actually looks like it hit Krokgar. I don't think it does friendly fire damage. But yeah, Sartorial knows the danger is here. And as he pulls out, he's going to get a devastating Wind of Death here. So look at that. Absolutely crushing to my guys. So like I said, Chaos is going to deal the biggest punch. There you go, doing tons of damage. Krokgar looks like he also once again blocked the Solar Engine from firing. So I really need to get in there. Meanwhile, the rest of the Chaos forces are going to come in. But my guys are starting to come back. I think my front line is holding okay. And in terms of the money trade, I'm doing pretty well. Sorry, not money, points trade. I have 7k, Chaos has 5k, so I should be pretty okay. But the problem with this is if the the forces of the vampire counts are able to get in at both of our guys. What the hell? Oh, that's a single chaos force that was sent back. Oh god, they're getting murdered. But yeah, the problem is if we allow the vampire count to eat the rest of both of our armies, he will come back in the lead. So what I'm going to try and do is pull out of this fight and try and call a like a truce for the time being. Continue to pluck away at Sartorial, just make him less of a threat. But my main line is crumbling. Temple Guard, Source Warriors trying to hold the front. Ancient Stegodon, you know, helping where it can to beat back the Warriors of Chaos. But anytime there's Chaos Spawn or some of the big monsters, I'm having a noticeably harder time. But the Chameleon Skinks in close support, firing into these brethren, looking great. And I also love the fact that we have Blood and Gore. Makes this so much more just brutal. Ooh, and a couple of those Chaos Spawn going down to a combination of the fired shots from both, as well as just the brutal strikes of these Temple Guard. There you go, some Croxagores facing up against them. Boom. That's pretty cool. So a lot of my guys are kind of rampaging, so I'm going to have to lose them. But with the rest, with the impending doom coming in here, the swarm of vampires, I'm going to pull out of this and let him eat Chaos alive, digest it, and spit it out. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Digest it, swallow it, poop it out. But yeah, I've cracked 10k, so I'm going to try and disengage from this fight. Ancient Stegodon is in here. I threw in my Bastildon and other big monsters here. Krokgar popped a Revivification Crystal to get him back up to speed, because what I'm trying to do is just buy time for the rest of my army to disengage. Unfortunately, what happens here is the enemy forces, Dragon, Ogres, and other units are going to come against my Bastildon and really tie him down. Krokgar is able to pull out of this fight, but I'm not really able to save my Revivification Crystal, and that's a pretty big deal because I really need its healing powers for later in the fight. You know, I was hoping to pull through, but it looks like it's not going to be the case. He's going to start routing, and the rest of my guys are going to be seen off, and here comes the swarm of the skeletons. A little bit too late to save my Revivification Crystal, but still. Okay, so there you go. You can see he's pulling out. Trying to get out of there, and he gets out just in time as all sorts of transmutation of lead is being popped. So Ithoriel flying back into the fight. Going to be charged at by those Vargulfs, but he is pissed here. And then also you can see some of the bombs being lobbed from the dwarf, so the fourth player is making his presence known here. And he's been sitting nice, neat, and tidy in the back. So right now the most powerful player is probably the dwarves, but after that it's going to be the vampire counts, and they are a much more pressing threat. So knowing that I have a pretty significant point lead, I'm ahead of Chaos. I'm going to go ahead and pull out of this fight with everything I can. So Arthuriel's going to continue to try and pick apart some of my retreating Temple Source Warriors. This is where I'm going to pull in Krokgar and some other Stegodon forces to perhaps see him off. That would be a great pickup for me, but he's just trying to get more points where he can. And the dwarves just sitting pretty back here with their beautiful battle lines, but they're starting to overextend. They're getting some of their units up here a little bit pulled up to try and fire into the blob, but a couple things they have to be wary of course, going to be my Pterodon Riders with the Fire Leech Pillows that could fly into here and take out some of these exposed guys, as well as the fact that behind this entire force, we still have two carefully hidden Blood Knights. So the battle is not over, not by a long stretch. You can see still 20 minutes, so this is going to be a long fight to the end. Here you go. Scythorial has... where is he? Anyways, I guess he was seen off by 3 of these Vargulfs. Not quite sure where he ended up. He may be off the screen. Let's see. Yeah, I only see one general, so I think Sartorial was seen off the battlefield, as well as, sadly, my Revivification Crystal. I was hoping it would come back, but that last little bit of damage that was done to it pushed it into the Shatter meter. So the Vampires are going to continue to pursue, but what they're seeing is, you know, they just don't have the speed to catch up to me. The only thing that perhaps can is going to be these 3 Vargulfs, but in and of themselves, I mean, Krokgar, with the support of some of his other tanky monsters, can probably take them out. So if the Vampire Counts are going to try and chase me, the dwarfs are just going to punish them for that. So he decides to double back and deal with the far bigger elephant in the room, going to be the dwarves. So I'm okay with this little indecision on this side. Even if the dwarves are getting free kills, in terms of the balance of points, they are the least force that I should be worried about getting more points. So I'm more than happy for them to get a little bit higher in the leaderboard at the expense of the vampire counts, because the vampire counts are moving up. And actually it looks like they're focusing fire on the Stearnsman, and that is a great unit to take out because it does have the ability to regen over time and get back up to pretty good strength, and it's a pretty hardy unit. But yeah, so there you go. The pursuit has been given up on my own lizardman forces, the kings of the jungle here. So they are covered in blood of 2 different races. Well, I guess technically just 1 chaos, and then after that a little bit of the undead spattering on them. But by the end of this, Gar, and more importantly Grimlock, are going to have blood from 4 different armies on them, which is freaking cool. But they're tired, and so they're resting up. Same thing goes with my temple guards here. And they've just about gotten replenished, so now they're on active. And now I'm going to go ahead and hustle them forward. Unfortunately, I didn't have that revivification crystal. If I still did, I would have definitely popped it on both of these guys, gotten them back up to full strength. That would have been awesome, not only for their morale, but also for their battle efficiency. I still have a couple more shots on this Bastillodon with the solar engine, and I'm going to be saving it for, I'm not quite sure, either some Vargulfs or perhaps even some Dwarves in the distance there, shooting it at, let's see, who's their leader? Thorgrim Grudgebear would be great up on his chariot here. Makes him a pretty sensible target for that. Meanwhile, I've pulled the rest of my guys up behind this little ridge, and this is going to give me some line of sight protection from the artillery and also start to hide my numbers. And I'm going to get myself positioned on the flank to deal with the enemy. They have a huge gun line, so that means they can kind of shut down my monsters, so I have to wait for the vampires actually to get in, and they're going to be the ones who have to kind of tie down the enemy in order to make an opening for my guys to charge in through the forest there, as you would expect, kind of lore-wise. Different forces fighting in the New World, and all of a sudden out of the jungle comes a bunch of these lizardmen and dinos. But we'll see. We haven't seen the dwarfs engage yet. They do have a pretty sturdy battle line. A lot of dwarven warriors up through the front. Oh, actually, iron breakers. Dwarf warriors with great weapons. Grumbling bears, Norgrumbling, iron drakes, or sorry, iron breakers. These guys long beards, so everything is kind of elite. That is really good stuff. They only have a couple dwarf warriors, but yeah, this is a very, very tanky force here. Pretty scary stuff. But I mean, the vampire counts are nothing to snuff at. These triple Vargulfs can tear through any exposed force, and if they focus fire, take out key units, that'll be pretty powerful. Skeleton warriors will go down pretty quick, but they're just going to be there to bide time and allow some of the whites to come and carve a swath through the enemy, as well as Manfred here to be able... Oh, where is Manfred? Must be embedded in the force somewhere. Anyways, he's up and around, and he'll be able to take out... use some spells to take out the enemy. Okay, there he is. He's with the 2 whites. Oh, sorry, it's Vlad. Excuse me. Yeah, he is a beast in melee. He has another one of these winds of death that he can pop, so that's going to be pretty cool. At this point, this artillery piece was completely kind of left isolated. The Dwarven force thought that he was, in a good position here, positioned on the flank as he is, covered by the river. But unfortunately, what's going to happen is actually coming out of the rear are going to be these Blood Knights charging in after them. A perfect ambush, as well as some of my own Pterodon riders that are coming in through the back. So we both had the idea of taking these guys out. It's to both our benefit. So there comes the cannon. Oh my god. The Blood Knights with the blood effects are absolutely glorious. That's going to take them out completely, silencing the gun. In the back, I'm going to spot an opportunity to get here. The guns of the dwarves are going to turn about. Start to unload on those Blood Knights, which is going to be pretty dope because that is a unit I'm very scared of. But take a look at this, a wind of death here, just as all these elite forces are trying to hold the front line. Here he goes, he's going to retarget it. Oh god, this is going to be really bad. So this is at 75 men. Absolutely exploding into little guts. And look at this, 75 men at first. 72 men, but down to, a third strength. So they're still standing, but they have only a little bit of their souls left here. This guy was absolutely devastated. Up through the front, the miners, the blasting charges are going to try and hold, but take a look at this force coming out of the flames. Hell itself is going to be coming out. Vargulf's another, tearing through the front lines. And those explosive charges aren't going to be good against these monsters. They will do something, but just not very much. That would be better used against the main group coming in here. So things are going really well, and these Blood Knights are going to get a ridiculously good charge against this clustered unit of Thunderers. I'm also going to come in with my Pterodon Riders. These guys are opportunistic flyers. Going to come in here and just throw some explosives into the mix. Pick up some free kills and weaken this, but I don't necessarily want to weaken the dwarves too much. I'm playing a little bit of, you know, both sides here. Yes, I want these Blood Knights to take out the gunners, but I don't want to take them out so quickly to the point where the Thunderers end up dying and can't kill these Vargulfs, because I'm actually pretty scared of this Vargulf horde, and it's going to just tear through the dwarven front line. Oh my god, look at this. The goon squad here coming in into this giant blob. My god. So yeah, there you go. This is what I want. I want the Vargulfs in the mix here. I want them taking out the gunners, but I also want the Vargulfs to start taking some damage themselves, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm being super opportunistic, super backstabby, almost the something you'd expect from Skaven. But anyways, the front lines of the dwarves are absolutely collapsing. We thought it was a very powerful force, but that Wind of Death combined with the Lords coming in, and then finally Skeleton Warriors kind of charging into the front here to tie them down is going to be awesome. And the Vargulf penetration to tie down a lot of these Thunderers is absolutely great. My Pterodon Riders are going to come over here, and again, like I said, I'm going to play both sides of this battle. Knowing that in this instance, the dwarves are down low and they can afford a little bit of a boost, but the vampire counts are creeping closer to me. What I want to do is I want to try and help the dwarves now. So I'm going to fly around through the back to the rear of this big blob of the vampires where they have pretty healthy troop numbers, and I just want to start murdering them. Even the odds allow the Dawi to withstand. So I'm going to start firing into here, and it's going to do a lot of damage. These guys do have some armor, but, you know, once you get them to pretty low health, the critical binding is going to start to pop, and I can actually get big clusters of these units off the battlefield. So this is going to be great for me. It also helps me get a little bit more points. Meanwhile, in the back, I'm going to be shifting around some of my units to try and take out enemy forces, see them off the battlefield, pick up a couple extra points, and then over here, I'm going to just shark around with some of my lords. I'm going to send a Saurus Scar Veteran against these miners and just gobble them up for some free kills. The dwarves are starting to break with the triple whites and Vlad in the center. Not much the dwarves can do here, but they are starting to hew through the enemy. It's pretty cool stuff. I think this is a fight that may, in some instances, go to the way of the dwarves with these iron breakers for sure. Yeah, they'll be able to hold this, so I'm pretty happy. So that's why the Vargulfs are being pulled out of this equation. They weren't able to destroy the dwarves here because Thorgrim is here, because the Grumbling Guard is here. So this is absolutely great. Everyone's getting torn to little bits and pieces. And it looks like the damage that I've been putting on in the rear is really helping to clean this up. It means that the only thing that's left standing is going to be these heroes, which are much more easily managed than the hordes that the vampire counts had initially. And take a look at this. The first of the Vargulfs is going to be super low health. Meanwhile, over here, Kroq-Gar is going to be, like I said, eating some of the guys on the flank, going into these Dragon Princes, or sorry, not Dragon Princes, Blood Dragons, getting lots of easy kills, and that's one of the things that I need to be aware of, is these fast maneuverable guys, because they can knock out some of my light troops. Anyways, Kroq-Gar is super fast, so he's going to pull out of this just as the Vargulfs are getting into the mix, and they're going to try and chase, so I'm going to pull these Skinks and other units to try and help Kroq-Gar. Scar Veteran also pulling out, but they've been pulled back into the fight in the center, so there is absolute chaos on all fronts here. Feds continuing to get away, lots of explosions going on here, and I'm actually out of ammo on some of these Pterodon Riders, so what they're going to be told to do is just fly around, and they're going to try and charge in and clean up some enemy forces. Yeah, good thing I got out of that engagement. Master of Beguilement was popped on me, so had I tried to take on those Vargulfs, Kroq-Gar probably would have taken a big severe beating, and he has no more ways to heal up, so that's why I'm being a little bit careful. Meanwhile, in the center, you can see both enemy forces are kind of equalizing, and they're starting to get up towards my level, so, you know, I can't let these guys obliterate themselves entirely, because that means I will be out of points to gain. So that's why I'm kind of sustaining myself for the time being. Most of my army is biding its time, but where I can, I'm going to go ahead and clean up some ancillary forces on the side, with everything coming in here to pick up these little Dawi. Pretty cool stuff. The Scar Veteran as well. So you go, Kroq-Gar painted with the 4th coat of blood here. Continue to get some points, and I'm at 1400. Continuing to go up, I can probably get this to 1500 while the enemy is still fighting for 1300, so I still have a little bit of time to bide. I did pull up with my Ancient Stegodon here, and this is cool, with the little machine gun that it has, actually right next to these dwarven artillery pieces, and you can see by comparison just how big this guy is. But he's cool. Anyways, I had him on fire at will, just to start to get some value shots into elite units like the Grumbling Guard. We'll see how that goes. And then I spotted some Thunderers here who are trying to pursue my Pterodon Riders. And then we're going to come in here and clean them up with some Skink Cohorts, Scar Veteran, and Krokgar. Oh my god, he's going to toss some Skinks about. Poor little fellas. Although most of them, it looks like, are going to pick themselves up. Holy crap. A couple dwarves being punted. That is freaking cool. So yeah, this is going well. So it looks like in the center, there is mass crumbling happening for the vampire counts. That's great. That's excellent. It means that they're probably going to get locked out of this engagement around 1400, at least for their infantry. Their leaders are still pretty strong, though. That's what I have to be worried about. Meanwhile, the dwarves also at 1300, so they're starting to climb back up. And Thorgrim at very good health. If he can take out some of these whites, take out some of these Vargulfs, that's a lot of potential points that he can get in. But again, doing the little math on my end, knowing that I want to ally with whoever is lowest on the leaderboard, what I'm going to go in and do is I spot a couple of these units over here, and once again, Krokgar is going to come out from the side and just make sure to prune this guy and keep him super low strength. So there you go, we're going to take one of them out and just charge right through the skeleton force and push on through to the other guy. Second unit of skeleton, doing lots of damage, punching them around, and it's going to attach these Vargulfs. The Vargulf doesn't care at all about my Scar Veteran. Looks like he gave him a punch in the face, but he'd really rather go after Krokgar. So I caused these guys to pull out of the fight with the dwarves, again helping the dwarves in this engagement, and giving me a couple extra points. So now you can see I've creeped up to 1500. This is pretty cool. But the dwarves are now going to hold strong in the center. More units coming in, and this is an engagement that I think can finally benefit them because there is no more flanking. It's all down to just a big grind in the center, and they have some support of a couple little gunners in the back. So if any engagement is going to go well for the dwarves, it's going to be this one. So they just have to hold. We'll see how they hold. Vlad's still in the center, taking some hits from these Iron Breakers and all these elite forces. We'll see how he holds. He's still pretty high strength. Oh my god, one of the Vargulfs going down, killed by Thorgrim, so that is excellent. The other Vargulf is going to be pulled off to the side to go after these Thunders. And again, I'm going to spot an opportunity to, hey, looks like if I can pick out one of these Vargulfs, then all I have to deal with is this mess in the center, which I'm much more happy to do. So here you go. I'm going to come in with some of these Pterodon Riders to charge in after these Thunders, just to do some damage. And then also what I'm going to try and do is target this Vargulf to keep him down for the count, and then start to come in with Krokgar and some other units here soon. And this Stegodon is going to come up to the center, and literally his goal is just to oversee the battle and fire point blank into that. So let's watch this. Oh, this is so cool. You can see three of the different big heroes here. Vlad, Thorgrim, and then that ancient Stegodon in the mix, firing its machine guns. So this is freaking perfect. Very representative of what's going on here. This is the type of free-for-all battle that I live for. This stuff is super fun. But yeah, here's this Vargulf trying to get away from my little beasties. He would love to snack on them, but here comes Krokgar in the back, so he's going to seek shelter in the center and safety. And it looks like a lot of these Dwarf Warriors are going to be routing, so pretty devastating stuff. The solar engine does pull up. Like I said, it only has maybe 3-4 volleys, but it's going to rev up, and it's going to try and fire right into this Vargulf. Ooh, and Hand of the Gods comes in and smacks that healthy Vargulf. It was pretty strong before, but now it's been brought down to almost no health. And then bam, there you go, taking it out with the solar engine. So my guys have taken positions 360 degrees around the remaining dwarves. So the vampire counts have been seen off. This is really excellent because they were pretty close to me, so they're going to get locked out at 1500. A couple more kills that they could have with Vlad. He's still pretty strong, but overall, now the next guy on the leaderboard that I have to deal with is going to be the dwarf, 1600. So he's getting actually pretty close to me, popping with swiftness of Itzel to get out of there, and then finally I'm going to get in with the ancient Stegodon and just collapse in on the dwarves. Keep Krokgar alive because I know I want to maintain him alive, because if he routs, then I may get chain routing for most of my units. But here's something pretty cool that you love to see. Lots of dinos heavily armored Fjord warriors against the heavily armored Fjord warriors of the dwarves. Some of them having natural armor, the other ones having forged armor, which is kind of a cool little go-between. And there you go, firing right into Thorgrim Grudgebearer, although he has a lot of health on him. Fair amount of armor as well. So this Bastildon is going to continue to try and fire into him with the Stegodon, pinning him in place. Oh, it looks like he just shot my own Stegodon in the face there, blinding it, so that's a little too bad. And it looks like the enemies have kind of decided to team up against me a little bit. What you'll be seeing here is they've decided to go against my forces. So for instance, the dwarves here are fighting me on this front, and then the vampires are going to be fighting against my Stegodons on this front. So knowing that that's not an engagement that I could win, like you can see the dwarves are actually coming back up, I'm going to pull out of this fight. You can see both of the lords going to be chasing after me, so I have to be a little bit careful. Vlad is going to try and come after me and slay this ancient Stegodon. That is kind of a big linchpin of my force. So I'm going to go ahead and kick him back, flatten him, and just save the day for my Stegodon. And the skink also here can put some poison on Vlad there. And you can see my Scar Veteran actually pushing him back towards the battle lines here to force him to fight in that front. And I'm going to pull out of the engagement after he's been slowed. And he does have the Karstein ring popped to reduce the amount of damage that is incoming. So he could probably actually take out a fair amount of health on Krakor. Master of Beguilement as well to take away my melee attacks. So I'm just going to make sure that I knock him down, get off a roar, and then I'm going to piece the fuck out of here, get out of that engagement. Again, just allowing the enemy forces to grind each other to a pulp. And this is the last of the vampire forces. And yeah, looks like he realizes that I have the mobility, and he's going to go ahead and I guess side back on, come to my alliance. And realizing that he wants to take out the enemy, I think he's going to go against Thorgrim here, or at least try to, but the Dawi are going to sacrifice themselves to prevent that. And here comes Thorgrim, charging into the mix. But Vlad is taking a pretty heavy beating, lots of damage being pulled down here. And now, once again, I'm going to circle around with Krakar, get my Bastildon. I'm almost out of ammo on everything. These chameleon skinks have a couple extra volleys left, and they're going to be using that to fire into Thorgrim, trying to poison him, trying to do a little bit more damage, but that's it. They're out of health. All of a sudden the dwarfs are going to pop stand your ground, so I was thinking of engaging, but as long as that stands, I'm just going to circle about. So you can see all my monsters. This is really cool. This is like a showcase of the elite of the elite. We have the Ancient Stegodon, we have Krakar, we have a Scar Veteran, we have a Bastildon, some skinks there, and then some Temple Guard also circling about, waiting to engage. So the dwarves have killed everything. They have been through hell as well, fighting 3 different armies, and now they're going to circle back around, realizing that this is their last stand here. That is cool. They even have found a little bit of a hill to stand on. So the first blow is going to be dealt by the solar engine because I don't really need it anymore. And it is a big bruiser that has pretty good health, so he's going to get in to disrupt. Next is the Scar Veteran, and then I'm going to come in with the Stegodon, and everyone is going to come in piecemeal to knock about these dwarves. It's going to be 5 body blows in quick succession to take these guys out. But they are strong. They are the Dawi. We'll see how this turns out. So it looks to be pretty brutal. Let's go ahead and pop, see what it's like overhead. Yeah, and finally looks like these guys are at their ends of wits. 15 men left in that one, 18 men, so they were going down pretty hard. Thorgrim still pretty strong, but I do have a lot of heroes still left standing. Even the Skink's going to commit themselves in the last engagement, so this is everyone getting in on the fight here. Let's get an eye at Thorgrim here, fighting amongst the 3 different monsters. Good God. With the blood going everywhere. This is absolutely crazy. Oh my God. Carrying the chariot away. Ooh. So this should be it for the dwarves. Their leaders have been isolated. He's going to pull out of this fight, try and get away. With the final blow, the chariot does go down. And this is where the banner that reads Jurassic Park falls from the sky. There's your cinematic ending. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This one was very, very fun. I'm really enjoying these new multiplayer maps, or at least the free-for-all ones. I haven't really played many of the other ones, but if they're anything like the one I've seen here, and if they generate any of the same gameplay, then I know I'm going to enjoy them. This was a hell of a free-for-all battle, very, very fun. Something that reminds me of how the way free-for-all used to play back in the days of Medieval. So yeah, I hope CA continues to improve upon free-for-all, more maps, add some tweaks to it, maybe even some buildings like dojos or different key points that you can take over, watch towers, things of that nature to keep it going, because this is tons of fun. So in the replay, take a look at some of my final stats here. So overall, I had a ton of points, 5k above everyone else, mostly because of being just last man standing, but also a fair amount of it being damage dealt over time. I still somehow had 29% of my guys remaining. I'm not quite sure how that's possible. It seemed like I had lost so many troops, but I did have a pretty elite core. So Crockguard with 113, Scar Veteran doing good work. Source Warrior is doing okay against Chaos, but, you know, against Chaos you don't expect them to do very well. Surprisingly, the Croxagores just don't seem to do well. I'm not quite sure what it is about their stats. Maybe it's their slow, how slow they deal damage. And just, I don't know, they don't seem to do very well in combat, and so I could have done better with maybe a couple more Source Warriors instead of these Croxagores. But anyways, they did their role. Bastiladon with the Solar Engine firing away at high value targets, doing good stuff. This Stegodon here doing work, 97 kills, and tanking a lot of damage for the rest of my force, allowing them to stay alive. Temple Guard doing pretty well as well. And the Pterodon Riders with Fire Leech Bolas, each with double chevrons, so that means they've gotten a lot of value. Killing the Hell Cannons early on saved me a lot of numbers. And then there at the end you saw taking out Dwarven Artillery, Dwarven Gunners, evening the fight. And they were more instrumental as kind of ways to control the battle. You could see how I used them to tip the tide, to start to deal with these Dwarven Gunners and then pull back and then deal with the Vampires. So these guys are excellent in free-for-all. Really, really like them. Same thing with Chameleon Skinks. I think as the Lizardmen you should always bring one, just because they can circle about, they can slow the enemy, and dealing poison to a cluster of units just helps, you know, debuff them pretty powerfully. And also if you're bringing Crockguard, bring Hand of the Gods so you can take out enemy lords even quicker. In terms of our opponents, let's start with Chaos here, who's the main guy that I fought. So pretty big underperformance for most of his guys, mostly from the Hell Cannons because of the suppression that I was able to get. Once he did charge in these Dragon Ogres, pretty big investment, got a fair amount of kills. 2 Chevs on them, I'm guessing they were the ones who killed the Croxagores. So yeah, that's probably why the Croxagores underperformed, because they were fighting some big, bad monsters. The rest of them doing okay. I guess he didn't bring any Chosen, which is why the Chaos Warriors just didn't trade as effectively as you would have expected against a main line of Source Warriors. Although I guess pound for pound, maybe these guys are about the same. But holy crap, Aspiring Champions with 1 kill, that is really, really bad for them. They're going to lose their rank for sure. And Sartorial here with 30 kills, a lot of it being actually from that one Wind of Death, although I do believe the Wind of Death, I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure if it counts towards the kill counter, because that would have been a lot more for him. Anyways, that was the first army. Then after that, we fought the Vampire Counts. Vampire Counts were pretty strong. Their main line here was just meant, I guess, as a throwaway. I don't think if you necessarily need too many throwaways in free-for-all. I think it's better about having value units and the ability to kind of sustain them, so have stuff that synergizes, either reviving them or magic to buff them up or debuff the enemy. You get a bit more value from that, and then you end up feeding less points to your enemy. So this is an army that would perhaps feed a little bit more, although it should be said that the Graveguard do trade pretty decently. Here maybe not so well because they were going against dwarves, but did okay. The Vargulf Goon Squad was really good, helped to charge through the lines and really break through and hit the dwarves where it mattered. And then, of course, Vlad here getting a lot of kills with his, not only in combat, but I guess here 161 has to be the Wind of Death. So I guess maybe the Wind of Death does count as kills, and if it does count as kills, then it does go towards your points. So that's kind of interesting. And that's to be contrasted with, I believe, things that deal damage, like Flock of Doom. Even though that can end up doing a lot of damage to forces, I don't think it counts as like a kill in the same way, and so it doesn't add to points. I'm not quite sure. Someone will have to explain it. But anyways, here you can see the vampires doing okay, pretty high on the leaderboards from getting some value kills, cleaning up chaos, and then these guys who came in and took out the artillery. But at the end of the day, I believe he placed 3rd on leaderboard. And then finally the dwarves kind of biding their time. Tons of kills here with the Goblobber, Grudge Thor. Doing well. The gunner is really underperforming. He should have spaced them out a little bit better, but this mainline core of Ironbreakers, even though they took so much early damage, they were able to tank it out and do a lot. So this was, in the end, a pretty hard nut to crack, whereas Chaos here packs a big punch. the dwarves can take a big punch. So that was kind of an interesting way to start and end the battle. And so that's why I had to kind of play the Skaven side of things here to force the enemy to deal with each other and allow me to rise and be on top. Anyways, that's it for this fight. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.